Shalom, shalom. I pray the Most High, Shabbat shalom. I pray the Most High is abounding to every good work in your life, that He's giving you grace, mercy, love, compassion, and the beauty of the order of His house. Today, I have a wonderful topic to share with you. The Most High has had me being a student of spiritual warfare for a long time now. And I want to tell you about this testimony because one of the things I like to do, I like to hear testimonies from people that were like, they used to be in the occult. I like to hear testimonies from people that used to be witches. I like to hear testimonies like that of spiritual warfare. I like to also shout out to like the Whitfield Harrington channel. He has amazing videos on this topic of spiritual warfare, okay? And so today, the Most High had me looking back on those testimonies and looking back on what I've learned and applying it to the things that are happening in the earth now. And so I want to share with you one of the testimonies. So it was a video I was watching, and I'm going to theme this religious witchcraft, Hebrew Israelite witchcraft, Christian witchcraft, church witchcraft, because these are the most dangerous witches. One, even from the Most High's word, He's in agreement with this being the most dangerous type of witch. Number one, He would rather you be hot or cold. Choose one. That lack of intentionality, and this is something, intentionality is a word that a lot of how can I put it? A lot of like New Age people use, but the thing that equates to intentionality for the believer is faith, right? And so the lack of faith, the lack of intentionality, the swaying back and forth is manipulative. The swaying back and forth is not of the Most High, it's confusion, right? And so He says, I'd rather you be hot or cold, but since you're lukewarm, I will spit you out of my mouth. This is the Most High's words, right? Okay, so that's like one verse that talks about that. And then number two is where the Most High says that He suffers not a witch to live. He also says in the Torah that you should not be a false witness against your neighbor. And so He always says things with intention. The Most High doesn't just like write laws and they're just random. I always like to ask Him, okay, so what's this deeper level? What's under this? Like, why is that written in that way? Do not, because it's written like you learn in church, the 10 commands, and it's like, do not lie, but it's specifically, do not bear false witness against your neighbor. And then we have Proverbs 6 and 16 through, I believe it's verse 21, either 6 and 16 through 19 or 6:16 through 21. And He lists out these things that He hates. They're abominable. And He equates these things because the other time you see the word abomination that's used, it's used with a particular sin, LGBTQ. But in Proverbs 6 and 16, He says He hates feet that are swift to gossip, swift to divide, swift to bear false witness, swift to slander their neighbor. He says all of these things are an abomination. You should check it out, Proverbs 6 and 16 through 21. And so you can say, okay, that's great, that's fantastic. But He says this is an abomination, right? So He's saying theft, that's illegal. Dishonoring your parents, that's illegal. But these particular things are literal, like they make Him want to vomit. An abomination. Abomination is something that's like, I can't take that. I can't take to see that happening, right? And so I'm gonna get into the testimony. I was watching the video, and this lady, she was saying how she married into a family. She married her husband, and obviously she had a mother-in-law. Most people do. I don't. My mother-in-law passed away way before, like my husband was even a teenager, but she had a mother-in-law, and the mother-in-law was in the church. And the mother-in-law would talk and say her name, and she would slander her. She would gossip about her. And she was saying about how in the testimony, and it's so crazy that they don't teach this enough in the church. This is not taught in the church. She would gossip and slander her name. She would bring up her name so much. And if you have ill intentions towards someone and you bring up their name enough, you can throw energy in that direction, right? This is why the word says you ought to pray without ceasing, especially if you have like a YouTube channel like we do. Our name stays in folks' mouth 9 times out of 10. And so one of my prayer points that the Most High has shown me, He says, substitute your name with the blood of Yahusha. So anytime that folks speak against you, speak against us, say, anytime any monitoring spirit, witch, or warlock would speak against me, let them see the blood of Yahusha and the eyes of Yahusha that are as a flame of fire for vengeance. For Yahusha is the vengeance of Yasharel. Okay, and so that was part of the testimony. But the girl, she was just feeling so off or whatever, and she didn't know what was going on. She didn't know what was happening. She thought, okay, maybe something is off at her job or whatever. But one day she's on the phone with her mother-in-law, and she's acting, she's just like faking, really. She's fronting. She's acting like they're cool, like everything's good. And then she hangs up the phone, or she says she's going to hang up the phone. Again, this is a Christian, a believer. We gonna assess how much you really believe. But this is a believer, quote unquote. And she acts like she's hanging up the phone, or she actually thinks she does, the mother-in-law does, but she didn't hang it up. And so the girl can hear her on the other line. And when she puts the phone down, again, thinking it's hung up, she's like, oh, I can't stand her. I don't know why my son married her. Look at her. She just looked crazy. Look at her. This. All of this slander, right? All of this accusation, all of these fruits of the Satan, the fruits of the devil. But mind you, this is a Christian woman. This is an elder Christian woman, right? Who, by the way, is black. This is like an elder Christian woman, right? A good. This is why you have to discern the spirits. This is why the Most High says you ought to pray at all times. This is why it's written in Matthew. He says, there are going to be a lot that come to me that say, Lord, Lord, didn't I do this in your name? Didn't I do this in your name? Didn't I do this in your name? And he's going to say, depart from me. I never knew you, you worker of witchcraft. Depart from. And that used to get me so confused when I first came in the truth. I'm like, how is someone doing actual power in your name? And then they're not making it to the kingdom. And he says it's not in my name. And they're not representing my kingdom. Good deliverance on that. I need to take a sip of my tea, but I don't want to spill, so I'm going to just wait till the video's done. Y'all, you have need to move from milk to meat. I've been on meat for a long time. I enjoy the meat of the word. I'm not a milk type person. I enjoy the meat of the word. But we have to be discerning in these times, because we are in the last days. And people not going to like this, but this is what's written in the book of Revelations. Every foul spirit is released upon Babylon. So you will have these sick spiritual people, literally physically sick, because that's a stronghold of principality. You pray they get delivered. And then sick in the spirit as well. These sick, mentally sick people that choose to be sick, doing that type of stuff, accusations, gossip, all these things, to act as your father, the devil. That's a choice. You don't have to do that, right? And so you have to be discerning in these last days, because America is the home of that. America is where these sicknesses and these curses and these demonic possessions are at a full front. If you've ever traveled, you know what I mean, including Asia, because people will get so frustrated and say, oh, there's different stuff in Africa, but look at what they got over there in Asia, not realizing that America is worse because it professes to know Yah. The church professes to know Yah. The Israelite community professes to know Yah and still practices divination, witchcraft, cursing. Now, how do you think the Most High judges this? What do you think his answer to this is going to be? Because he's releasing his answer now in this time. The Most High says, when I shoot an arrow, I cannot miss. I am the vengeance for my people. He says, you don't have to worry. I'm the vengeance for Yasharel, true Yasharel. This is why it always has that caveat in certain scriptures that says, true Yasharel, the real Israelites. Because not all who say they are Yasharel or Yasharel, we need to try them by the Spirit. And I'm going to give you a few spirits that you can look for. One, we need to look at Galatians 5, and we can't have any excuses. We can't have any, oh, but what if? You believe the word or you don't. The end. Meekness, patience, kindness, love. Without all of these, there is no law. And then look at the fruits of Proverbs 6 and 16, which the Most High hates. I hate those who cause division. I hate those who slander. I hate those who work deceit. I hate those who are unfaithful. Now that's Revelations, where he says he'd rather you be hot or cold, and just to pick a side. That's why we're really hot. We're really ablaze. Y'all know when you come to this channel, we're not confused. We are straightforward, very much on fire for the Most High, very much on fire for the role he has placed us in Africa, very much on fire for our marriage and our children, very much on fire for humanity to come back into proper covenant. But that testimony blessed me so much because it made so much sense. Because I used to be so confused. I was like, how do you discern these things? And then it made sense, the fruits, and how you can understand the intention or the faith behind what somebody is doing. Meaning, if you come and say you are coming in a certain way, let's say somebody tells you that they want to come and help you dig flowers out of or dig weeds out of your garden. I was about to say flowers out of your yard. Dig weeds out of your garden. So they come to your house. They say, hey, can I help you dig the weeds out of your garden? And you're like, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, you can dig the weeds out. But their intention, their faith, their intention is deceitful, because instead they weren't thinking about the flowers, the weeds, helping the flowers grow. Instead, they were thinking, how can I position myself as a spy to accuse this person? Warlock, witch, deceitful, manipulation. That is the art of religious witchcraft. That is the art of religious witchcraft, which the Most High says himself, I suffer not a witch to live. So you would pray for the Most High's mercy, because people do not know the fire that they are playing with when you play with the word and you come in a deceitful mindset. But other nations know this, okay? And that's why you could come to a place like we're in. You could come to South Africa. You could come to Tanzania, and people will just tell you their intentions. Because for whatever reason, Americans have been so far removed from how spiritual laws work that we will, I don't know, it must be some kind of like deep stupor. But from our experience being in Africa, Africans are very straightforward, usually. And they'll just tell you. And if they're not straightforward, you can discern that if you have discernment. But they'll just be straightforward and tell you what they want. Like, hey, can I have $10? Hey, can I have $30? Hey, can I have $40? Okay. But the issue comes when it's the religious witchcraft. Why? Because now you're slithering like a snake. Now you're slithering like a mermaid spirit. Now you're slithering, and now I'm confused, right? And we know confusion is not of the Most High. And so this is why different religions, even the Muslim faith, they will be keeping the laws to a better extent than Christians and Israelites, because they understand intentionality. They understand faith. They understand deceit. They understand lies and slander. It's not rocket science. But whatever it is in America, and it must be that verse where it talks about America being the habitation of every foul and perverse spirit that will twist, turn, manipulate, slither. Man, I was praying in the spirit yesterday, and the Most High just showed me a vision of these mermaid spirits swaying back and forth and moving backwards as I binded them and rebuked them and took authority over them. And it was so random, because I've never seen that before. Like when I'm actually praying, I've never seen it. And so, yeah, y'all, you gotta be aware of these Christian-Israelite, whoever they are. You better try them by the Spirit. And I just gave you the formula to try them by the Spirit, you know? Because if you come with one intention that is off and you lie about that intention and you manipulate, you've just worked witchcraft. Now, for me personally, I don't really care that you work witchcraft. That's your business. You do what you want. Me, I'm very intentional about every space that I get into. I'm very faith-filled about every space that I get into. I'm very loyal to the Most High in every single space that I get into. That's why I can come on here and speak on these things. That's why Most High will send me dreams and visions. That's how you get an increase in rank in the Spirit, so that you have the power and authority and you can see these things. Because it's already written that the weapon can form, but it can't prosper. You can form a weapon all you'd like, and you'll be hoping and cursing for it to prosper, and yet it still won't prosper. And yet, you know, the saints would still pray for your salvation, because truly, when you know the Father, And you know his judgment where he says, I suffer not which to live, and you read Proverbs 6:16 through 21, and you're not in some kind of weird fog, some kind of dense fog of confusion. Father, have mercy on them, for they know not what they do. And for you, the chosen of the Most High, take your position of authority. Take your position. You are at the right hand. You are not easily moved. There's a verse in Psalms that says, be seated at the right hand of Elohim in heavenly places with Yahushua the Messiah. Be seated. You are not going to be moved. And this is the time for you as the chosen to increase in your rank for the kingdom, because the things that we will see on the earth is going to require us to have this power on high. Shabbat Shalom. I'm going to drink my tea and I'm going to finish, praising the Most High and going deeper into the Spirit. So y'all be blessed, be at peace, stay in the secret place, stay repentant, and be what the Most High has called you to be without fear. Shalom, shalom.